Welcome to episode 17 of Chats. Today we are talking about pets. I'm Corbin.
I'm Sarah.
And we thought of this one earlier this week. We were at the vet for one of our pets, and we were just sitting there waiting for them to do the general examination, all that, and we were sitting there and said, "Oh, this could be a podcast."
Yeah, it was a little bit dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Well, mostly for our pet, our pup,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, well, everyone's probably wondering, what are you going to talk about with pets? Like, what are you going to do with that topic? Well, there's quite a bit we could do with that topic. I have some stuff here. My mom has some stuff, but we've always had pets throughout our lives. You've had pets throughout your life.
Yes.
I've had pets throughout my life, and mostly dogs. We're not cat people necessarily,
Not
but
really.
no. But so as I just said, we were thinking about what we're gonna do for pets, and I found this interesting article about the annual cost of ownership, and it's called "Can You Afford a Pet?" which I think a lot of people don't think about when they purchase a pet.
Should be required reading before you even get a dog or a cat or a gerbil or anything.
Even a gerbil.
Even a gerbil.
So this was written February 11th, 2020. So this is like
Fresh off
the press, exactly. And the website's Money Under 30, which is a good title for the website. If it's usually people under 30 who are buying these extravagant pets, and then realizing it's a little more expensive.
Right.
So there's a bunch of one-time pet expenses like adoption costs, startup supplies like the beds and stuff. So like the adoption cost can be anywhere from, for a dog, this is very light because if you get it from a breeder on their own, it could be a lot more. But it goes anywhere from $0 to $660, and that's what it says for dogs. Cats is $0 to $270. So we don't really know about the cats. They do dog and cats only on this website. We don't know. We can't really vouch for the cat prices because we don't really do that. Stuff like startup supplies, bowls, beds, crates, leashes, toys, all that is $50 to $300. If you can find all that for $50,
you're a rock star.
You found a good bargain. Vaccinations and such is $50 to $300 for dogs, $100 to $200 for cats, and then just all your like spaying and neutering, licensing, microchips, all around, anywhere between $50 to $300. Quite a lot of money for the first time expenses.
But people will spend a lot of money on their pets.
Yes.
Like there's no compulsion or second, there is a compulsion, but there is no second thought or weighing it out. People will go in and, if you're looking at a $5 chew toy versus a $10 chew toy, most people will pick the $10 chew toy. And I'm being modest because let's face it, most chew toys are around the $20 mark.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then to wrap it all up for the one-time cost, the average total one-time cost if you're first off getting a dog,
never had a pet before,
is from $260 to $1,780.
And it'll be closer to the $1,000.
Yes, I would.
As mid-range people ourselves.
That's a lot. That's a big gap too. $270 to $1,780.
Well, they may be thinking that if you get a dog or a cat will cost less than a dog. But if you got something maybe like online, or maybe a cat was given to you, there's no cost or adoption fees there. And then the paraphernalia is what adds up. Yeah.
And the cat is $370 to $1,440. It's interesting that the cat starts off higher than the dog. And then, of course, the thing that a lot of pet owners know all too well about is the annual pet expenses. So dog food, people usually spend $250 to $750 on dog food. Cat food is...
What, is that a year?
In a year.
And the low end again is what?
$250.
No, you're not feeding your dog.
That's like one meal every other day.
Yeah, and you're giving them like a tablespoon of food.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're feeding them. For dogs, right?
Yeah, that's for dogs.
That's insane.
Cats is $100 to $200. Annual medical exams anywhere between 50 to 100. Vaccinations $10 to 100.
You say 50 to 100?
Yeah. This
has to be in U.S. dollars or something.
I think it is.
This isn't real.
Litter for cats is 200 to anywhere between 200 to 250. Toys go from anywhere between $20 to $100, and then the license goes from $0 to $20. But the annual expenses go anywhere between $380 for dogs to $1,170, and for cats $430 to $870.
Yeah, that's got to be American pricing, because I know what we're paying, and it's and we're not high end people.
Yeah,
we're not buying top of the line anything.
Well, and they have a thing here that breaks down if your dog weighs a certain amount of weight, how much kibble you should be giving them to get a certain amount of calories a day.
Right. So maybe we're thinking of like a little frou-frou dog, a little purse dog, type thing, lap dog, right?
Yeah. Which is fair enough.
We have German Shepherds, so none of these seem applicable to us right now.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I was going to search up was the adoption percentage of how many people put their dog up for adoption or something like that. Because a lot of people, as we just saw, they don't realize the expenses of it.
Yeah, they get into it, and then they're in, and they've got an ongoing cost that they can't sustain.
Yeah.
It's not good. You got to think these things out beforehand. It's traumatic for the animal. It can be very devastating for certain family members who get very attached to that pet. And you'll never get all of your money back. Like once you've gone out and bought all the stuff that they need, the food, things like that, you're either going to give it away to someone else, or you're going to end up in a situation where you're still not going to get full value for the return. And it's just a really traumatic experience for everyone.
Yeah. So in the U.S., approximately 6.5 million companion animals enter the U.S. Animal shelters nationwide every year.
That's crazy.
And 3.3 million are dogs, 3.2 million are cats, and the rest are kind of just
miscellaneous animals,
other ones. And it says approximately 1.5 million shelter animals are euthanized.
Okay, I didn't need to know that.
I know. It's quite sad, but approximately 3.2 million shelter animals are adopted each year, which is not as many as they're getting in a year, which just shows...
Well, there is some retention where, there are animals that are being kept at home, but I just find that upsetting, because we had that experience with our one dog, Kane. We got him through a shelter, and his story was very sad in that when he was in his litter, and the house that his parents and his litter mates were in burned, and then they actually woke up the family, their human family.
Yeah.
The dogs were the reason why the humans got out safely, and then the humans left, and they boarded up the very young litter with their mom and dad in the garage, and then the neighbors advised police that there were dogs in the house, even though they weren't being fed. They had a bit of water left behind for them. But of course there was safety concerns for the pups, and eventually they were scooped up by bylaw, Humane Society type agency. We ended up getting them through a connection who knew that from the police standpoint that they were being rescued, and we were able to get Kane when he was a very small pup. Like normally shelters won't take very young pups like that. They have to be a certain age.
Yeah.
But the thing I found devastating was they separated the dad from the mom in the litter immediately, and they put the dad in the shelter, and the dad reacted badly, and they ended up euthanizing him because they didn't feel that he would rehome well. And that was frustrating to me, because here's a case where he'd been through a lot
in the last short amount of time.
Yeah, and he lost his human family. He lost his dog family. He lost his mate, and to be judged on that, I think it would have taken. I think the right environment with the right people, and he could have been okay.
Yeah.
So I find it very upsetting when we went down. You and I first went down to look at the litter. And I asked to see the mother, which we did, and she was a lovely dog. And then we asked to see the father, and they said, "Oh, we euthanized him."
Yeah.
And it's like that's where humans screwed up.
Yeah.
And that's a whole separate topic as far as breeds of dogs and things like that.
And understanding animals.
Well, and there's no bad breed.
No.
There's no breed that is better than another breed. If the dog has teeth, it has the capability to bite. And if any dog is in any environment where they are not treated with respect and love, they can be in a position where they will bite. So this idea that, I mean, how many times have we been somewhere and someone will say, "Oh, German Shepherds, ooh, got to watch out for them."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our guys would literally, the only way you would die from Roman and Cain would be if they licked you to death.
Yeah, they smother you with love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at every time your girlfriend comes.
Yeah.
What do?
They big bark, and then as soon as you get out of the car, it's all happy, excited.
Yeah.
Prance around.
But the barking, they do that whenever anybody comes in. That's their job.
And that's even if someone drives down the road,
Yeah.
they just see something.
But when they see it's her,
Yep.
they're delighted, and it's a love-in.
Yeah.
Right? So
It works out.
yeah, so I find that interesting that people judge dogs, and yet humans are the ones that should be judged for how they treat dogs, for the destruction of dogs.
Or just pets in general. But
Oh,
dogs
for
get
sure.
dogs get the worst rap, I think.
Yeah, you don't hear too many people talking about vicious gerbils or
cats.
or treacherous cats.
Yeah.
Cats kind of have their own category of they're all the kings of their own castle. It seems like from anyone I know that has a cat. So, yeah. But let's tell them the story. Let's tell them the story about what happened this week. I mean, not the gross details, but
Yes.
we will get into why we came up with this topic.
Yes. So, we have our 2 dogs, and sometimes they just take off with not far.
There's a farm behind us,
There's
so they
a
like to go to
field,
the field
yeah.
behind us. So they're not like gone. They
No,
just like to
just
they
for
go
like
adventuring.
a couple minutes. They come
Yeah.
back, and I was at home, and I saw Kane was outside, and he was trying to go to the bathroom, and the other dog was inside, and the other dog was outside trying to go to the bathroom, and he
vomited and he was struggling to go to the bathroom.
Yes,
I'll help you out with that.
he threw-
I can
I
tell
forgot
you're
about that.
you're
He
trying to
threw
figure
up-
out how to say this without grossing people
Yeah,
out.
so he threw up earlier, and now he's trying to go to the bathroom. It's very much like diarrhea.
He's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then a half an hour later, because he's still outside, outdoor type of dog, I look out, and there is a sort of rope or something coming out with the diarrhea, but it's still partly inside of him. So at that point, I call Mom, and I tell her, and she's like, "Well, gotta come home from work early and take care of this." And yeah, so throughout the day, it kept on, he was outside the whole time. He was obviously very uncomfortable. And we didn't know if it was like a twine or if it was like rope
what
or
we
something.
got into.
Yeah, but it was quite long. So Mom called the vet. They're like, "Get him here ASAP," which we kind of assumed would be the case. So she gets home. We get him in the truck, and we take off to the vet. But before that, though, it came out.
Yes, he was there. He was able to expel it.
Yes.
And you have to understand, Kane would be called a larger German Shepherd.
Yes.
Like Corbin is 6'3", and his head comes to your hip.
Yes.
So to give you perspective of how big this dog is, he has the head the size of a small watermelon.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite dogs.
Yes.
I say that. I mean, and I love all the dogs.
You've had a lot of dogs as well.
Kane has a certain thing about him that I just adore, and of course that's what made me so upset. Is when I'm on my way home, I'm communicating with the vet clinic. Of course, Corbin's being awesome, and he's separated the dogs, keeping Kane calm.
Yeah.
Getting the
Trying.
truck get the truck started, that type of thing, and then I get the phone call from the vet saying, "Okay, just so you know, with what you've told us, we've talked to the other vets, and we've got a quote here for you, and we want you to run it by you now, so that if a decision has to be made quickly, we haven't held the process up by getting you a quote," which translates to, you're going to die when you hear how much this is going to be. So we're going to give you some time
Yeah, and this is what
to adjust to this.
This is what that website I read off does not include.
Does not include.
Some of the weird stuff that your dog gets into. And
So
then it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
So I'm bracing the steering wheel as they tell me that if it ends up that the rope is causing damage internally or that there's a blockage, because we don't know what the rope's attached to.
Yeah.
That there would be a surgical fee between $3,000 and $4,000.
Yeah.
So I'm devastated because I'm sitting there thinking, first of all, I hope that there's no damage and I hope he's not in pain and I don't want him to be uncomfortable. And then I'm thinking, where do I find $3,000 to $4,000? And it's like in a spur of the moment situation, I don't know if I can, and I don't know if a lot of people could.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, when you're
especially
talking
when
about,
they're young adults, right? Or
well,
like
anybody.
20. Well, yeah, especially but if you're just like you're starting out at a job, you're not, you know, you haven't worked your way up the ranks, you don't have the raises.
Yeah.
You know, so especially
and that's what that website was for young people, but. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know anybody. Like, for me, no, I'm not starting out, and I've had a couple of raises. I'm not at the top of the ladder, but I got a mortgage, and I've got bills to pay, and I got mouths to feed.
Yeah.
So there's realities. Mm-hmm. So, fortunately, it was able to come out before we got there, so transporting him was much easier. We get there, and they did x-rays. They did 2 different... X-rays of him, an examination,
physical exams,
and they figured that he had expelled all of the rope. Mm-hmm. What you need to understand, gentle listener, is that the rope is like 7 feet long.
It was quite a length.
We couldn't figure out how. Like, did he just Lady in the Tramp this thing and just like slurp up a rope
like it's spaghetti?
And when we say rope, anyone who's familiar with the farming community, you'll know what baler twine is. This is like...
I think it was baler twine.
It looked like it was a type of baler twine, so it would be very fine. Like if you're thinking of the type of cord you would use to like truss a chicken or a turkey, it would be like 3 or 4 times that diameter. Mm-hmm. It was more something that you would use if you had a like garden rope, like light garden rope, like something that you would use to tie up, you know, a piece of fencing or like tie up tomatoes or like a heavier gauge rope. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so poor Corbin and Sarah had an interesting week. We were looking at each other as we're waiting for Kane to come back from the x-ray and thinking, you know, didn't expect this morning.
No.
That's not how our day was mapped out. But thankfully you were home because that could have gone very badly if it had been undetected and we just came home at like regular time and saw... oh my God, you know, he's got this going on and now we've got to boot him. Now it's an emergency. It's an emergency call to a vet clinic, and anybody who's had a vet or a pet who's had to go to a vet after hours knows it's almost double.
Yeah. It's scary.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well, look at the time. Okay, here's another story.
Another story
time. Once upon a time.
Yeah.
This was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a time ago.
And it's when my dad was in the hospital. So I had just come home from the hospital, and here the dogs had taken off the night before. And they normally these guys have such a routine. They're always home for meals. They're always around the house. It's just every now and then, and it seems to be like
seasonal.
Yeah, like fall and late spring when stuff's moving around, like all the little critters are out and about, and they catch a scent, and then they're, like I say, they're off in the backfield. Well, the critter that they caught up to was a porcupine, and they came home literally as my husband was leaving for work. Your dad was heading out the door, and he just could not deal with it. Like, he just couldn't deal with it because he had been looking for them and he was going to be late. So he let them into the run outside. I come home from the hospital and I see this. And what this is Roman has got quills in his nose, a couple quills, you know, around his jaw, his face. Kane has them in his mouth,
all over,
down his throat. He's got them in his front elbow. He's got him on his paws. So he's definitely...
he's been hit.
He was the attacker.
Yeah.
He was definitely the aggressor, which that's kind of how he is. So I end up loading these 2 dogs in the back of a pickup truck again, taking them to the vet. And the vet says, okay, Roman's pretty good. We can get rid of most of these quills. And they did it fairly quickly. And they looked at Kane and they said, okay, we're going to kind of sedate him and leave him over here because we think this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I get a phone call at noon hour after they're done with Roman and they started looking at Kane. And we find out that there were quills actually in the elbow joint. I'm saying elbow. That's probably not the proper terminology for what the dog's
We're not registered vets, and if we were, we'd save a lot of money on these stories.
That's right. So they ended up actually having to fully sedate Kane and operate on his elbow.
Keep him overnight.
And kept him overnight to remove all of the quills that were in his elbow. And
Yes.
oh my God, could not believe it. And I mean, that's how dogs are. Like growing up, when we had dogs and we were on a farm, they got into quills, into porcupines all the time. To the point that finally the vet said to my dad, "Here, just buy the bottle."
Yeah.
There was a bottle of sedative, which he probably never should have sold because it was supposed to be administered by a veterinarian. But he was so tired of coming out and pulling out a large quantity of quills from our dogs that he just said to my dad, "Here, you know how to do inoculations."
Yeah, take it away.
He'd done shots for our cows and our pigs, so you can do this for the dogs. And I can remember as a kid sitting on one of our dogs to keep him still while Dad would take pliers and pull out the quills.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of one of those like, oh, for God's sake, we're gonna do this again. It's not the worst. Quills aren't the worst, and especially if they're keeping their mouths clean and they're drinking a lot to wash things out, it's not a big deal. But the rope was scary.
Yes.
That was not fun.
No, that's almost every single time you're going into a vet, it's for something completely different and somehow completely more dangerous.
Random.
Yeah.
Random. So that's why I was laughing so hard when you're saying about annual cost, because let me just think here.
that was in a day.
Yeah, in one day, it was over $400.
Yes, I remember that you saying.
Yeah, for the X-rays. Well, we came out with pills. We also came out with pills to help heal. There was some damage done to the digestion, to the intestinal tract, but they felt it would be easily healed, so that was good news. But be that as it may, we still wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to heal it quickly so there was no infections, because that's a whole other world of hurt when you start getting into intestinal infections. But yeah, so good times. I had $400 I didn't want to do anything exciting
you
with.
spent it on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, nothing fun or helpful there. But yeah.
Well, and we would love to hear some of your vet stories as well.
Actually, you know what I want to know? If you can tell me how this dog got into a 7-foot rope and ate it,
I
want to hear from you what you think this was.
Yes, we'd love to hear that. We'll say them maybe on a podcast in the future if we get enough.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear that Facebook or our email. But before we get into all that, I have something for the high note. It's kind of...
You've got a high note?
I know.
It's been a couple of... Can I say something before we do the high note?
Yes.
We just want to remind people, we did say last week that we're going to talk about women's fitness, because we talked about guys last week, and we kind of did like health and fitness and food. And
we were going to do it this week.
We were going to do it this week.
With the vet stuff fresh in our minds, we wanted to get it out. And
it was
also
topical.
It was. And it was also a bit of a break between the fitness stuff. So next week we'll be getting to the female perspective and stuff about fitness in general.
Yes. So, we didn't forget about it, and... we haven't quite slipped that far gone. But that's nice that you have a topic here.
You know what it is.
Oh, I do? Okay.
And it's something that, it's helping the world in, like, warming our hearts. Okay. So, welcome to...
Is this a video?
Welcome to the high note. Yes, it is this video. So, Mom on Facebook the other week... sent me a video of a young girl who has been adopted.
Yes.
And it's just one of those cute, like, it's a 3-minute video. We'll post it on our Facebook, but I'll play a clip quick here.
Oh, are you going to?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she is talking, the mom's recording, and she's just talking about how she loves them so much and telling the story about how they were adopted.
She and her sister. There's a sister.
Yeah, Lily.
Yeah, Lily.
And it was one of those things where I usually don't watch stuff on Facebook. Like, I read it once or whatever. We've watched this video many times. We've shown as many people as we can. It is one of those videos that will make your heart melt. And you have to see her face, too. Because, like, the voice is one thing, but the face on her is adorable.
Yeah.
So, we'll have this here.
Are you queuing it up?
I got it queued up.
When when me and Lily was born? You know how did we got born? Well, when we was born, we came to little babies. And then, Lily was still a baby, and I was 4 years old. I got so big, and Lily was still a baby, right? And when the time you see her, she was 1 years old. And when the time you see me, I was 4 years old.
That is so cute.
That's a little clip. You guys got to keep on going because they're like the best parts are yet to come.
Yeah, this is kind of the warm up. She's kind of she's setting the stage for how she felt when she was 4 years old and Lily was still a baby. It just is adorable.
I gotta play the next sentence because this is one of our favorite parts.
I was very excited to meet you.
Very excited to meet you.
We were very excited to meet you.
I think it's like societed. I think that's what she's saying.
Societed, yeah.
Societed to meet you.
But it's just like a 3-minute video that will make you smile. It will make your day.
Yeah.
And that's what the high note's all about. Is just something that will make you a little happier. It'll end on a high note.
Yeah.
And we will post it on our Facebook. We will share it we'll share it on our Facebook because that's how we can put on our page. But definitely check it out and let us know if it made your day any better.
That's right. And we want to get feedback on everything that we talked about today and anything we've talked about in the past, maybe some topics you want us to cover in the future. And you can do that by going to chatspodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave comments on our Facebook page, and we would love to hear from you.
Yep.
Make sure you're recommending chats to your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers,
grandmas and grandpas.
Sure, on any of the streaming services, which include
Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
And I apologize because I was late with last week's YouTube. We had a miscommunication. Corbin does certain things, and then I do certain things, and Corbin did his part of the things, and I didn't realize it was done, so I didn't get it uploaded. So I apologize to all the listeners for not getting it done. Well, and to you. I do apologize to you because you did
on behalf
your part.
of all the listeners, we forgive you.
On behalf of all
and you can leave comments on our YouTube page as well. And if you guys are on our YouTube page, subscribe because that way, whenever the podcast get uploaded, you will know. You will know immediately.
Oh my God! I can't believe you just said that. The eyebrows went up whenever the episode gets uploaded.
Whenever they show
up.
And
I'm literally going to go right now and finish uploading last week's episode to the YouTube channel. So it's like a double decker. You can get like 2 weeks in a row on YouTube.
Practically. So thank you guys for listening so much. This has been me, Corbin.
And Sarah.
And thank you guys for listening and stay tuned for our latest chats.